This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the morning of Friday, January 24th, 2025. I'm Alex Brown. The Economic Development Corporation of Wayne County has launched a program to give housing developers an incentive to finish the build-out of existing but incomplete subdivisions. The Housing Accelerator program will provide grants of up to $250,000 to help cover public infrastructure costs, such as the build-out of public streets, roads, sidewalks, and utilities in the neighborhoods.
We have a very old housing stock, and we have a lot of unfinished subdivisions throughout the county where we saw an opportunity to encourage development of finishing those subdivisions that are already platted throughout Wayne County.
President Valerie Schaefer says the program is starting with a pool of $500,000 that comes from the county's Consolidated Economic Development Income Tax Fund. Bloomington-based Regional Opportunity Initiatives is adding to its leadership team as it moves forward with its Rural Indiana Workforce Development for Microelectronics initiative. The organization has hired Stefan Welsh to lead the initiative, which aims to promote career opportunities and accelerate talent development pipelines in the microelectronics industry. Welsh, who began his new role January 13th, most recently served as Director of Digital Communications for former Governor Eric Holcomb's office. Mishawaka-based Lighthouse Autism Center, a provider of applied behavior analysis therapy, is expanding in Indiana with two new centers opening in Hobart and LaPorte. Set to open this spring, the new locations will offer ABA therapy, speech therapy, autism diagnostic testing, parent support, and pre-academic learning programs. The new locations are expected to create nearly 70 jobs. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
To succeed, you need to stay informed. You need to be engaged. And let's face it, you need to set yourself apart from the rest by connecting with a company that brings you the best. Because in today's environment, business is an ever-moving target, and we'll help you chase it. IBJ Media. The best of business is in us. Get started at ibjmedia.com/youngprofessional.
Child care providers in Indiana could have less paperwork and more bandwidth to open facilities through a bill attempting to ease licensure restrictions. Here's Gary Dick.
House Bill 1253, authored by Republican Representative Dave Heine of Fort Wayne, would allow a single-owner child care company or nonprofit, including YMCAs and school-affiliated organizations, to open multiple locations under one license. Current law requires each location to hold its own permit, which providers told lawmakers during public testimony slows the process of opening new locations. Vanessa Green Senders, the CEO and president of the Indiana Chamber, testified in support of the bill, saying child care is one of their members' top issues. She referenced a 2024 Chamber study that found parents often miss work or leave the workforce entirely due to child care challenges. Courtney Hott, Director of Legislative Affairs for the Indiana Family and Social Services Administration, says the change would reduce the administrative burden for providers and address outdated measures. The bill was heavily amended Wednesday, scrapping revisions to the definition of a child care home or child care center, guidance on the number of children of a certain age in their care, and the number of consecutive days that care can be provided. The FSSA did not detail the motivation behind the amendment, but Hott alluded to future legislation that could overhaul requirements across the sector. The House Family, Children, and Human Affairs Committee unanimously passed the bill Wednesday. It will now be sent back to the House floor for consideration and amendments. This is Gary Dick for Inside Indiana Business Radio.
A press freedom group representing the Indiana Capital Chronicle has filed a lawsuit in Marion Superior Court against the Indiana Department of Correction, alleging that the state agency violated public records law in declining to reveal how much it paid for the lethal injection drug used in Joseph Corcoran's December execution. In the lawsuit, the Capital Chronicle alleges that the IDOC violated Indiana's Access to Public Records Act when it denied the nonprofit news organization's request for records showing the amount of taxpayer money the state spent to procure the lethal injection drug pentobarbital last summer. The Indiana Department of Correction did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the lawsuit from our partners at the Indiana Lawyer. Indianapolis Capital Improvement Board Executive Director Andy Mallon is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.